Whenever I talk about super soldiers, people always say, well, what about Warframes? Where do they sit on your super soldier scale? And I don't really consider them to be super soldiers for reasons that are spoilers. However, how would they sit on that scale? Well, one metric that a lot of people use is to look at the enemies that these people fight. And I'm not a big fan of this because if you look at the enemies that the Space Marines fight, those enemies beat them a lot. You really have to look at the lowest level enemies that they fight. In this case, for the Warframes, that would be the Grineer Lancer. And these are cloned soldiers that are augmented by cybernetics. The alloy armor that they wear is said to weigh around 1,000 pounds, and it's not power armor, which means that all that weight is just sitting on the soldier, and they're able to maneuver about as well as a modern soldier would. So these cybernetically augmented clones are likely 10 to 15 times stronger than a strong human, which is quite impressive. And as far as lifting capacity goes, that would put them on par with a Halo Spartan or a 40k Space Marine, although they are slower with less good training. And these essentially budget level Spartans literally get bisected by Warframes with the starting sword at level 1 in the prologue of the game. As in, like, cleanly cut in half, through all that armor, through the meat underneath. It's pretty gruesome in the game, but that's what happens. So their weakest enemies would be incredibly tough in pretty much any other universe, but they cut through them like month-old pudding. If we get into stronger weapons, that becomes even more the case, and then we consider the powers of the Warframes. Some of those are ridiculous. They can clone themselves, they can turn into little fairies that fly around really fast with really big guns. They can throw energy lances, they can make big old fireballs, they can open up other dimensions. They can stomp the ground so hard that time stops. Where would Warframes sit on that super soldier scale? Well, given that Warframes essentially carve through entire ships full of these budget Space Marines without any modifications, I think that they could pretty easily take on an entire chapter, assuming that we're not talking about them fighting in a massive field with the entire chapter pointing at them. However, there are some Warframes that could handle that. Warframes are powerful.